Welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and it is a pleasure to be with you and Peter Wright making a return visit with us here on the program. Peter, it is always a joy to get together with you and talk about all of the different aspects of who and what we are and try to bring, there are a couple of words that come to mind. Bring equilibrium, bring balance, kind of the same thing to both body, mind, soul, body, mind, emotions, and soul, if you will, or spirit. Thank you for being with us again.
Always a pleasure. Good to see you again, Richard.
Now, we've gotten together a few times, and you have been sharing with us what some might view as a sort of a case study. In this case, as the last time we had you on the program, you're going to share with us your insights and the experiences of one of your clients whose name has been changed and whose permission has been given, if I remember correctly. And this individual is a 56-year-old gentleman by the name of Bill, and he's got some challenges in his life that I'm going to allow you to begin the process. And every once in a while, I might just jump in with a question or two. So please take it away.
Okay, well, as we've talked about in the past, I'm a hypnotherapist with a metaphysical focus. And so I'd like to talk today about working with Bill and giving your listeners and viewers an opportunity to experience a different approach to working with clients that is far different from talk therapy. So what I'd like to do then is to first talk about Bill's issues. He's 56 years old, as you mentioned. He's looking to release feelings of anxiety, anger, fear, worry, fear of death, plus unresolved issues with his dad, who died a number of years before after a contentious divorce from his mom. He wants to let go of limiting beliefs about his life that are involving struggle or burden. Plus, he wants to use his own talents and abilities and aspirations in service to God's plan for his life. And in addition, to bring more joy into his life. So that's, from my perspective, an awful lot to focus on. But hey, what I find in this particular approach that I developed myself is that it's going to be very easy to focus on these issues with the help of his guidance, his heart, his higher self, and all those from the light. So I'd like to begin with a bit of information about hypnosis for those of your readers and viewers who have not experienced hypnosis. It's just simply focused concentration. We go in and out of trance every day. If you ever cried while watching a sad film, you've been in trance. It's quite similar to meditation. I find that in meditation, you're in a deeply relaxed state, but it's like a telescope, inspiring you to see the big picture. Hypnosis is in that same deeply relaxed state, but it's like a microscope where we are looking within you and, with the help of your guidance, to resolve the issues that you brought to the session. I find that about 60% of my clients are visual. So if go into a past life, it's like you're starring in your own motion picture costume drama. But 40% of my clients, and I'm in this group myself, are more auditory or sensing or feeling. So whenever I go in, when I'm in trance, exploring a past life, I don't see anything. I hear it, I sense it, I feel it. I just don't see it. In fact, there could be a voice inside of me saying, Peter, you're making this up. But I'm making up this story, not that one over there. Coming from somewhere. And I find in the trance state, your soul speaks through your imagination. So I invite you to get out of the way and invite your soul, your higher self, your heart to speak through you. Comments about that, Richard, or shall we move on?
Yeah, I first of all, I want to express my experience with you briefly, and to give people an understanding that this is the level of confidence that I have when I go to have a session with you. There are never any leading questions. You do not provide any information about the experience that I am having, i.e., you ask the question, what color are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you tasting, et cetera, as opposed to, do you see the color blue? Are you tasting bananas? Are you, and those types of things. There are no suggestions. It is what I am experiencing. And I remember I asked you that question about the story that I would be sharing under hypnosis. And
Mhm.
it's a conscious hypnosis. I was fully aware
Yep.
and I could hear myself and you as we went along. So it's not something that I don't remember. Oh, I do remember. Um, and that was, well, but how do you know the story I'm telling you or myself is the truth about the direction we wanted to go in this particular session or that session? Like
What?
I want to deal with the loss of my dog, or I want to deal with the fear of this, or the anxieties I'm having over here, or the uneasiness that I'm feeling in a relationship.
Mhm.
And
So,
what
yep.
was it that you told me in that regard? It's kind of what you've already stated here in regards to me trusting the story, that
Mhm.
it's not about your trust in it.
Mhm. Exactly. Because what I find is if we go into a past life or into something that happened in this life, after the fact, a client may say to me, "Did that really happen to me?" Especially if it's a past life.
Hmm.
I say, "I don't know." But what I find is that um, by going into the story, we're often able to come to closure with it. And whether it's a past life or not, or something happened in this life, we can often help you reach some sort of conclusion as a result. And through that conclusion, help you to move forward and release the blockage that prevents you from moving forward. So it doesn't matter if it's real or made up, it's just simply your guidance is taking you on that journey to help you come to closure, help you resolve that particular issue, and encourage
Yeah.
you to just move forward in your life.
And I know that there's a gentleman that I was introduced to. I don't remember if it was through someone else, but it led me to you in regards to LBL, Life Between Lives therapy, that Dr. Newton has written about. I've read several of his books, the case studies and so forth. And the thing that I found most fascinating about it, which is what intrigued me about coming to you for a session, was once again no leading questions in that regard, but that they were all independent. Each individual who was written about in the book, they were each independent. They had no connection other than Dr. Newton. And even though we both recognize that we are all connected, Dr. Newton is not transmitting telepathically to each of these individuals the same information. And there were
Exactly.
so many similarities, but also differences
Mhm.
in what they reported as they went through the therapy. That's what really intrigued me in that regard, in specifically about life between lives. But have you found in your practice, although I don't know how much associating you do with other hypnotherapists, that there are some who do tend to do some leading questions and they don't maybe do it consciously, or maybe they're doing it intentionally because they are looking for a particular result?
Well, I've been doing this work for 25 years, and I find that the best approach for me to use is to get out of the way and to invite the client to trust first thought, first feeling, first image, first voice. Because as I mentioned, your soul speaks through your imagination, and your soul is not making things up. Rather, it's translating what is inside of you into first thought, first feeling, first image, first voice. So be my tour guide, be my
Yeah,
corporate reporter, and that will lead the
exactly.
session for us.
Yeah. We're talking with Peter Wright, and he's a hypnotherapist here in Santa Barbara, California. And I can speak from firsthand experience of the opportunities that I've had. I will say really quickly here before we go on that I remember during one of our sessions, and it was dealing with the passing of my dog Makushla. And even though I was feeling this during the process of before we let her go, it wasn't until this session that I was actually able to release those feelings of guilt that I had not let her go soon enough. That in my in my session, I experienced a release that also told me coming from her, "Hey, you did everything you knew to do. It was okay." and even from someone who also communicates with animals, even those who have passed on. I was told by this other person that she didn't expect this to happen. This was not her plan, but this is just kind of the way it worked out, and that she would be with me, as this woman said, looking over my right shoulder. And so I often look over my right shoulder, and it's kind of nice to have that. We're talking with Peter Wright, and you are listening to Tell Me Your Story. This is a program today that is going to deal with a particular client. I know there's a little bit more that you wanted to share with us in terms of the happenings during a session, and I find that fascinating because for me, all of these sessions were comfortable. Now, of course, I can share that my wife has been through a session with you, but I can't share anything about that session because, first of all, I was not there. And second of all, even if I was, I can't share that with you because it's not it's not even about the laws. It's not my story to tell.
Right.
So that's real important. So what does happen during a session?
So in the trance state, as I mentioned, you can easily channel your heart, your higher self, and all your guidance available to us from the light. And this includes spirit guides, angels, archangels, and ascended masters. Plus, you can channel loved ones who've passed on, as well as those different past lives that you've had. Because what I've found is your guidance knows everything about you from this life and past lives, and is eager to partner with us to help you resolve the issues that we're focusing on. So with this in mind, I'd like to talk about my experience with Bill, because I think your listeners and viewers will be intrigued by what I found and what Bill found from our session. I guided him up in I guided him into hypnosis, and then on a visualization, taking him up into the light of the fifth dimension. In this higher vibration, we can go anywhere, anyhow, any why, any when. And it's very easy to ask Bill or any of my clients to channel his heart, his higher self, Archangel Michael, and all of his other guidance, because these resources know everything about him from this life and past lives. In fact, I came upon recently a quote from Albert Einstein, the well-known physicist, who was a believer in the fifth dimension. He once stated that it's quicker and easier to resolve issues in the fifth dimension's higher vibration than doing talk therapy in the third dimension, because we're up higher in the light and looking down on the issues that you're seeking to resolve. So that's what we'll be describing here. So we're now up into the light, and I asked Bill to describe, what does that place look like or feel like or seem like to you? And he replied, I'm outside in nature. It's filled with green trees, a stream, and a big rock. All right. So let's now invite your heart to join us. You may experience your heart as an image or a feeling or a presence or a knowing or maybe an inner voice. How do you experience your heart? Bill said, my heart is floating on the left side of me. Okay. So let's invite that floating energy of your heart to come forth right now with words like, I'm here, as if you were channeling it. I'm here, said Bill's heart. So I asked the heart, how do you support Bill? And the heart replied, I offer him guidance, protection, life. Okay. So we then invited Bill's higher self to join us. How does your higher self make itself known to you? Bill replied, my arms are tingling. Okay. So let's invite that tingling energy in your arms to join us with words like, I'm here. I'm here, said his higher self. Now, from my perspective, it's a voice. I hope it's your higher self, but it could be any voice at all. So I asked a key question. Higher self, are you in service to the light and love of the one infinite creator? Truth and nothing but the truth. If the voice is not from the light, it cannot lie and say, I sure am. So I use that question to make sure we're speaking with the true higher self, spirit guides, archangels, and ascended masters. In this case, the higher self said yes. So how do you support Bill, higher self? Higher self replied, through Bill, I offer him guidance, decisions. I help Bill make ethical choices. Okay. So then I asked Archangel Michael to join us. Bill described that energy as a translucent angel floating on the left of him. He was dressed in purple and white. Okay, so let's invite Archangel Michael to come through Bill with words like, I'm here. I'm here, said Archangel Michael. So I asked then Archangel Michael to join the inner wisdom team that we formed of Bill's heart, higher self, and Archangel Michael, because we'll be working with his team throughout the session, and we'll be adding to the team as the session unfolds. And as I mentioned, this team knows everything about Bill from this life and past lives and are eager to help us resolve the issues that we're bringing to the table. So I then asked Archangel Michael, are there any positive or negative intruder energies present that could be affecting Bill? Positive energies include spirit guides or an inner child, or maybe a past life personality that could be helping the client. Negative intruder energies can include ghosts or negative beings that are causing problems for the client. So basically at this point, I'm asking if there are any intruder energies, and if so, are you a good witch or a bad witch? And if you're a good witch, I'll ask you, how are you helping my client? If you're a bad witch, I want to find out how you're affecting my client so we can get rid of you. So Archangel Michael reported that there were 3 intruders present. All right, so let's, with the help of Archangel Michael and his inner wisdom team, invite that first intruder to come forth right now as if we were channeling him with words like, I'm here. So the voice said, I'm here. And I asked then a key question to find out more about the intruder. Are you a part of Bill or something else? And the energy responded, it was something else. So I learned as we talked with the energy that it was a ghost, an earthbound spirit, who, when that person had died, did not go completely into the light. The ghost said it was a male, that it had died of cancer at the age of 35. So I asked the ghost, how have you been affecting Bill? He replied that he'd been causing problems for Bill. But then, to my surprise, I discovered that this was Bill's father's energy that had joined his son when his dad had died. So I asked his dad, the energy, why he had invaded Bill's energy field. And Dad replied, I know what's best for Bill. I moved into Bill to fulfill my own wishes. I have trapped him into continuing to play that role. Oh, okay. So when Bill heard his father say that, my client Bill replied, that's not fair or right. Dad, you need to stop trying to control me. Again, Dad had died a number of years ago, but now is still back on the scene affecting his son. So I asked Bill's inner wisdom team, his heart, higher self, and Archangel Michael, what wants to happen next to help release Dad? And they replied, Dad must leave his son's energy field now. Mm. I asked Bill's heart to join us and speak directly to Dad's heart. So here's what Bill's heart said to his dad's heart. I really love you and I miss you, Dad, and was sad when you died. But I feel hurt and angry at you for moving into my energy field and seeking to control me, and therefore affecting me in my own personal choices. How does your dad respond? I love you, son, but I am adamant that I know what is best for you. So I asked Dad this question. Dad, how old is Bill right now from your perspective? And Dad responded, Bill's 8 years old. Well, I then pointed out to Dad that Bill is actually 56 years old, and that a 56-year-old man does not need his father telling him what to do. Bill is an adult who should make his own decisions. I then asked Archangel Michael to rejoin us with words like, I'm here. So I asked Archangel Michael, what needs to happen to release Dad from Bill? Archangel Michael told us that we needed forgiveness on both sides to help release the emotions in both Bill's and Dad's heart. And this could help Dad leave Bill's energy field. Okay, so what is blocking this from occurring? I asked Archangel Michael and Bill's heart. And Bill's heart responded that fear was still present within Bill. It was the fear that if Bill lets his guard down, others might take advantage of him as well.
Mm.
So we were then told by Archangel Michael that intruder number 2 was blocking Bill from releasing this fear. As you recall, we were told there were 3 intruders. The first was Bill's dad. The second is this energy that's blocking Bill from releasing this fear. So I asked intruder number 2 to come forth with words like, "I'm here." And we discovered that the second intruder was, in fact, the energy of Bill's mother, who was still alive in her own physical body. In our initial consultation, Bill described his childhood as being filled with trauma. During their divorce, mom and dad fought over custody of Bill. In fact, dad kidnapped the 8-year-old Bill and kept him from his mother for weeks after their divorce. Mom then told us that the divorce was a very emotional time for her and that she was there now to protect her 8-year-old son. Well, I pointed out to Bill that Bill was actually 56 years old and no longer needed her protection. Bill added to that he did not want his mother in his energy field any longer either, and that she must leave now. So Archangel Michael rejoined us and asked him, "What do we do next?" And he told us that mom first needs to forgive herself for all the trauma she caused her son. Then she could leave her son's energy field. So we asked Archangel Michael to tell us about what we should do next. And he said we needed to release the third intruder first. Again, as I mentioned here, we're working with the client's guidance that knows how best to proceed. And so during the session, I'm going to constantly go back to that guidance, heart, higher self, and Archangel Michael in this case, and say, "Okay, guys, what wants to happen next?" And they'll tell us, as Archangel Michael did at this point. And he told us that intruder, the third intruder, was negative energy that had taken advantage of the emotional situation and had moved in through holes in Bill's aura. Now here, your physical body is protected by the immune system. We know that. Mm-hmm. Your spirit body is protected by the aura. And on occasion, your aura can become weak due to trauma or too much alcohol or pot or having a big heart and not protecting yourself. Holes develop in the aura, and through these holes can come negative intruder energies like the third intruder. This negativity has been creating negative emotions within Bill and feeding off of those negative emotions caused by unhealthy relationships between his parents. So I asked Bill, "Where are you holding on to that fear in your body?" Bill said the fear was in 2 areas, his heart and in his brain. Okay, so we focused on the fear in his heart first. I asked Bill, "What color is the fear in your heart?" He said, "Green." "What shape is that fear in your heart?" And he said, "An ink blot shape." "Okay, Bill, I want you to surround that green ink blot of fear in your heart right now with your mind, taking control of it, because up until now, it's been controlling you. Now is your chance to control it. So as you surround that fear with your imagination, I want you to squeeze that fear and move it on up your body and now to the top of the head, putting it behind you in the light, sending it out through your crown chakra. And the angels of the white light will receive it and transmute that white light energy from fear into nothingness, into white light. "So is this fear starting to move?" I asked Bill. He said, "Yes." We'll keep pushing it up and out to the top of the head, letting it go, releasing it into the light. Bill replied, "It's gone." Now look down into your heart and allow crystalline white light to rise up and fill that space where the fear had been. As you concentrate on the light, it gets larger and larger and brighter and brighter. Then wrap your mind around the light and expand your mind and the light together, making it even larger, even brighter, taking control of it. Then allow the light to enter into your mind and mix with your mind. Because as this happens, Bill, the light gives you awareness and understanding. It takes away the false beliefs and judgments from the past. It changes those beliefs makes it possible for you to forgive yourself and others. Because in the light, there's truth. In the light, there's understanding and compassion. In the light, there's freedom to express your thoughts, a sense of confidence, an opportunity to be free of the past and of mom and dad who have entered into your energy field. What's the message for you from the light? And Bill responded, love. Well, breathe in that love now, Bill, and let it completely fill your heart. How does that feel, heart? I asked his heart. Bill's heart responded, finally, it's about time. So I asked Bill how he felt now, and he said, it feels good. My heart has been empty for far too long. Okay. So now we use that same protocol of looking at the fear that he said was also in his brain. And we released the fear that was from his brain using the same protocol and filled that part of him with high vibrational white light and brighter, 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 stronger, 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 and ask then for Bill, what's the message in your brain now that we've released all that fear? And the brain responded by saying joy. So I asked Bill's inner wisdom team what we should focus on next in our session, because we'd gotten rid of the fear, and we're now dealing with mom and dad, knowing that they were present, causing problems for Bill. So where do we go from here? And they responded, Bill's future. So by doing so, I asked Bill's path to the future, and his team responded, follow your joy, Bill. Follow your joy. We will be there to support you at every step along the way. And earlier in the session, as we were, once we had gotten rid of the fear, we had asked Archangel Michael and the angels of the white light to surround both mom and dad and take them into the light, take them out of Bill, freeing him from their presence. And Bill, in fact, watched them as each of them went with loved ones from the other side who'd come to meet them, to greet them, because those loved ones had been looking for them and searching for them, because, and now during this session, they knew where to find mom and dad and could welcome them home in the light, leaving Bill free of their presence. So at that point, I invited Bill to imagine a sanctuary where he could feel safe and protected. And he described himself being inside a Buddhist temple filled with windows and an ornate roof. So he's now in his imagination in this sanctuary, and we invited his heart, his higher self, and Archangel Michael to join him in the sanctuary while in a meditative hypnotic state. I told him he could easily return to the sanctuary in his imagination daily or whenever he chose, because by doing so, he could return and call forth his inner wisdom team, meet with them, and continue to ask them questions and get answers from them about next steps in his life. So, with the entire inner wisdom team present, I then asked, how do we help Bill during our hypnotherapy session? Because I wanted to get a sense from them about what do we do and how has Bill benefited from our time together. So I asked for a spokesperson from the inner wisdom team, heart, higher self, Archangel Michael, whoever it might be, to announce its presence with words like, I'm here. I'm here, said a voice. What name may we call you? It was Bill's heart that responded. And it said, what do? Bill released a great deal of anxiety, anger, fear, worry, and sadness caused by the presence of his parents in his energy field, and replaced those negative emotions with love and joy. And this led to forgiveness towards dad, mom, and Bill himself, and led to mom and dad being taken completely into the light by loved ones from the other side who had come to take them with them out of Bill. And we discovered that intrusive energy of his parents not only had departed, but at the age of 56, Bill was at last in charge of himself, ready to move forward on his soul's journey without mom and dad getting in the way. So then I asked for an overall message from his inner wisdom team for Bill, and Bill's higher self reported the following. Bill, remember to live in your joy. Take more downtime for yourself. Go on vacation. Blessings to you, Bill. for taking care of yourself today. Your inner wisdom team is eager to continue to work with you on your own. Together, we can help you move forward with love and joy in your life. A week later, we got together for a follow-up session,
Mhm.
and Bill reported that his life had improved a great deal. He no longer had those feelings of fear and anxiety. And he realized that mom and dad had left, and now he could be fully in charge of his life. And he was delighted. So, comments from you, Richard.
Oh my
Question.
goodness. It's interesting how many questions came. First of all, I wanted to ask you about the concept, I'll refer to it right now that way, of possession
Okay.
by other entities, i.e., in Bill's case. And
Mhm.
before I forget, next time you talk to Bill, thank him for allowing us to talk about his experience. It's quite extraordinary. Would you classify father and mother energies residing within Bill, within his aura field, if you will, as a concept many people would refer to as a possession, or is this something different than that?
I would call it a ghost, if you will.
Okay.
If you consider the physical body is protected by the immune system, we know that. We know that the spirit body is protected by your aura, as I mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
And on occasion, excuse me, the aura can become weak due to trauma, due to too much alcohol or pot, as I mentioned earlier. And through these holes in the aura, these ghosts can come into your energy field. Now, where are they from? All right. When uh, sometimes when people die, they do not go completely into the light because they are um, uh, they're confused by the death process. They don't know where to go, or they're addicted to alcohol or drugs and don't want to leave that physical body,
Hmm.
or um, just they're sort of at loss or don't know what to do. So what happens is that these energies then are looking for a place to hide, and they go into the fourth dimension, the lower astral realm, and reside there. But what I find is that angry ghosts are attracted to angry people, and depressed ghosts are attracted to depressed people. So they move into holes in our energy field and set up housekeeping and trigger us.
Mm.
So ghosts is one group of intruders. The second group are it's negative energy. Here in the third dimension, we live in a duality of opposites.
Hmm.
We have hot and cold, beautiful and ugly, good and bad. This is the bad. It's never had a human body. It resides in the lower astral realm, the fourth dimension, and it is attracted to us through holes in our aura because it feeds off of our own negative emotions. And in fact, it moves into us and causes problems for us that create these negative emotions that then it can feed off of. But there's a better place for these energies to be, which is in the light or out of you. So I find that about 60% of my clients have one or more intruder with them. And part of the goal of the session is to release them, is to send them back where they came from or into the light or wherever God deems it appropriate for them to go.
Mm.
And it's fairly easy to set them free, if you will, or get them out of the client so the client can move forward without their presence.
Makes
Comments
me
about that?
Yeah, it makes me think of the line from an interesting television program my wife and I love to watch, where the statement is that we have allowed people, and this is more in the mental and emotional states, we've allowed people to live rent free in our heads. All right, because we think about them, we focus on them and what they're doing, and this was, of course, from The Big Bang. And Sheldon has an arch nemesis, Will Wheaton, and he's always thinking of ways to get one up on Will. So Will says, "Hey, I'm living rent free up here, pal." And in a manner of speaking, though, my understanding is Bill did not sanction this intrusion, if you will, through his auric field, But at the same time, the process that you took him through did not force them, these two entities plus the negative energy, did not force them out saying, be gone, Satan, that kind of thing.
But
It
exactly.
was it was more an assistance process to even help them
Mhm.
to understand that Bill's 56, he's not 8 years old. And that was a rather interesting thing too, that these entities somehow latched onto. And if I may ask, and maybe we don't have this information, which is fine, did his parents pass when he was around 8 or 9 years old? Or
No, oh, no.
so they attached to that age for whatever reasons they did so, instead of recognizing the reality that he's been around for 48 more years than you're giving him credit for. And and I want to go into that in regards to Bill, but before we do, I want to remind our listeners that we're talking with Peter Wright. And folks, he does offer a free consultation to all potential clients via phone, Zoom, Skype, and this is an offer, and it's an opportunity to share what you'd like to focus on with Peter during a session, and you can talk about, of course, hypnotherapy and the various resources available. And tell us about the website that they can go to and how to contact you in that regard before we continue on here.
My website is www.insightsfromwithin.com. And you'll find information there. It's www.insightsfromwithin.com about my practice and the resources that we have available during a session. Plus, there's a contact form that you can fill out there that will be sent to me via email that allows we can, through this, set up a free consultation where we talk about your issues and I talk about hypnotherapy and the resources we have available. And if there's a match, great. If there's not a
Mm-hmm.
match, great. You'll
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But what I offer is something that is very different from talk therapy. In fact, I'd like to um, uh, share something about that.
Mm-hmm.
My perspective, in terms of being a hypnotherapist, for me, talk therapy is working with the conscious mind, the memory, and the ego. But it's all within a three-dimensional model of this is all there is, folks. There's nothing more than what I can experience right now than what's in the third dimension.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more. So in hypnosis, I take you into trance and up into the fifth dimension where all the answers can be found.
Mm.
The fifth dimension, we can go anywhere, anyhow, any why, any when. And it's very easy to connect with your heart, your higher self, and all your guidance. In fact, we're working then with your emotions, this life and past lives, your physical body, what's happened to it in this life and past lives. Your physical body remembers past lives. I've had a number of clients with lower back pain. There's a sword still sticking out of the lower back. We take the
Mm.
sword out, the pain goes away. But most importantly, working with your spirit body, connects to your heart, your higher self, and all your guidance. So it's a broader palette of resources who are eager to report for duty and work with us.
Yeah.
Another way of looking at this would be left brain versus right brain. And for me, the left brain is that analytical part of you. It
Mm-hmm.
keeps the body functioning, the heart beating, the muscles moving. It's your conscious mind, your ego, your to-do list. It's how we navigate our lives out of our left brain. It's talk therapy in the third dimension. Hooray.
Yeah.
But equally important is the right brain. For me, the right brain is your emotions, your values, your imagination, and most particularly your heart and your higher self.
Mm.
So for my really left brain clients, the engineers, the accountants who live their lives out of their left brain, at the beginning of the session, I invite them to ask their left brain to sit on their left shoulder in their imagination. Take careful notes and shut up. And I ask higher self to sit on their right shoulder and invite their friends to come down from the non-physical realm and lead the session. They do, and they do. So it's a very different paradigm we're working with, but one that in a 2-hour session can often help you make very strong progress in the issues you're seeking to resolve, because this is short-term therapy. This
Yeah.
is not get together once a week for the rest of our lives. No, 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 it's short-term. So happy to
Yeah.
respond.
And you also provide the tools that an individual can then use on their own, that whole aspect of short-term therapy, to continue to work on whatever other issues that they may wish to by calling upon that team, that wisdom team. And that's very exciting. We're talking with Peter Wright, and I'm Richard Dugan. You're listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. The aspect of therapy is very interesting for many people. For some, it has a negative connotation. There's some baggage tied to it for some. But I've often done this on this program because this program I have acknowledged is my therapy or part of my therapeutic process. And so I ask those who are listening and watching, how many of you, raise your hands if you can, are in therapy? Now, I'm not necessarily speaking of formal therapy, such as going to a Peter or someone else, sitting on a couch or on Zoom, Skype, what have you, and having a session and paying whatever the charges in that regard. Because Peter, I think that therapy can also be, whether it's this program, the people that you surround yourself with. And we're not, and the people we surround ourselves with, I think this is a real important point to make. I want to get back to Bill in a moment, but the point is, you're not looking for yes people who will just agree with everything that you say. By the same token, we don't want a bunch of people around you that absolutely just they are they claim they're using tough love and they're really not helping. They may actually be generating more trauma. But it's okay if you have people who will call you on your stuff, but are also there to say, hey, where you're at's okay. All right. And thank you for sharing what you've been sharing because and I would think too, Peter, that you uh, as the facilitator, that's what I'll refer to you as the facilitator in a therapeutic session, there is a certain sense of responsibility, sure, but that's a special place to be in. And not everybody's called to that place to be there to assist someone to go through these kinds of processes. Um, Not quite, this is a bad analogy, but not quite the father confessor. But
Right.
by the same token, you are someone who genuinely cares. This is not a job. Like this program, we're here to change the world. We're here to make this a better place. And we're trying to help people through. I work with different people on regular programs that people hear, whether it's Dennis Henson or Lumari, or you or anybody else that we have a repeat or even a one-time guest. Uh, I genuinely do want to make a difference in this world,
Right.
and the processes are not always easy. Like, what? Oh, you want to scale Mount Everest? You want to go to the peak? Okay, I'm going to tell you right up front, it's not going to be easy, but boy, are you going to feel good when you get to the top. All right. That's kind of what we're talking about. So be willing to take that challenge. I want to get back to Bill.
Okay.
How long had he been dealing with what you ended up discovering were these three intruders?
A number of years. I don't recall, exactly when they started bothering him, if you will, but it was, as you recall, Dad had passed on,
Hmm.
but Mom was still alive.
Yeah.
So don't know, but they were present and getting in Bill's way.
So it is possible for someone still in body to be a ghost within someone else's aura field.
And ghost wouldn't be the right term there. It's more
Yeah.
their energy
Yeah.
can can affect. And as we all know, those we live with, when they're
Yeah.
in a bad mood, we can be in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
so
yeah.
it's all just part of human dynamics.
Indeed, indeed. This to me is obviously a very fascinating subject, and I sometimes wonder, and it's like, okay, so because I have the tools, I've got the documents there or the papers that will give me the guidance and so forth. But although it's always kind of fun to touch base with you and say, okay, Peter, take me in. Um, I sometimes think about the people who've passed on. but I think about them more from the perspective of a kid. I feel like an 8-year old at that moment when I think of my father and my sister and my best friend Doug. I knew him for, and I still am taken aback by the number of years I knew him, 53 years. We went through grade school, high school, and college together. When I think of my friend Mike, who decided that he didn't want to be here anymore because of his diagnosis, and others as well that I could sit and list, and we'd be here all day. But it seems like, at least from my perspective, and maybe I need to pull out those lesson sheets, if you will, and practice this to say, hey, do I have any intruders within? You know, that are getting a free ride. It's just, okay. The free ride's over because if this is what's holding me back from whatever it is that I think I'm being held back from, I'm not a victim. Okay, and that's a real important thing. And it doesn't sound to me like Bill, once he discovered these intruders, changed his perspective. I didn't hear him in what you shared with us
Yeah,
express any victimhood. It was somebody else's. Oh, this is mom and dad's fault because of the way that I am. He recognized they were there. All right, they were having an influence. He was still making all of the decisions, all the choices,
right.
but something was not quite right, and he wanted his balance or equilibrium back again,
And his power
and
back
his
again.
power.
Right, because they were encouraging him to act like an 8-year-old, and yet in our day-to-day activities here, these types of energies don't exist. Therefore, we need to go to talk therapy to try and resolve them. Talk
Yeah.
therapy would not easily resolve this because they were intruders who were in his energy field, and talk therapy doesn't even recognize they exist.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're talking with Peter Wright, a hypnotherapist here in the Santa Barbara area. We've been talking about Bill specifically, and of course, that's not his real name, and the experiences that he allowed Peter to share with us in the hypnotherapy session as well. And we encourage you to go to Peter's website. That is, once again, Peter, that website.
www.insightsfromwithin.com.
I like that. That's right along the lines of encouraging people here on Tell Me Your Story to spend some time during this decade of perfect vision to go within and listen to that still small voice. And we hope that people will do that. We hope they'll get in touch with you for that free consultation. Um, and insightswithin.com is the website. We would encourage you to go there. We'll be linked, of course, to that website. So this is it's fascinating stuff. And we'll continue here in just a moment here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, and we're here with Peter Wright. And Peter, I want to thank you so much for being with us on the program. I do often ask repeat appearance guests who come on a second, third, fourth time those three questions. And it's been a while since I've had you on, maybe a year could be. So I'm going to go ahead and ask those questions of you before we wrap things up. And the first of those three questions is, who is Peter Wright?
Peter Wright is a human being is a spiritual being having a human experience. And I think that's true of all of us. We are chose to come to Earth at this particular time to have this human experience, but we truly are spiritual beings on our way back to source, lifetime
Mm.
after lifetime after lifetime.
Mm. What gets you up in the morning?
Um, Passion for my work. I really enjoy the opportunity to be of service to my clients, to my community, to help people release the blocks and prevent them from getting what they want. I find that to be so um, uh, helpful
Mm.
for me as a person to be of service.
And finally, what was your best day?
Oh, best day. Um, I'm a Broadway musical fanatic. So for me, being in the throes of a Broadway musical in the audience with a happy story is exactly where I want to be.
So I would take it that New York City and walking the streets of Broadway and going into a theater and sitting down, you are in heaven.
I am in heaven, and it's such fun, such fun.
Absolutely. Well, Peter, thank you again for joining us here on the program. And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.